welcome to Button Mashing Episode 1. It's the 7th of February and this is our brand new gaming show, which we're going to be looking to record weekly, covering the latest news, general goings on in video games, and just catching up on what we've been playing and what we're looking forward to playing in the coming weeks. My name's James, and with me today I've got Carl. Say hello, Carl. And we've got a few things to cover today. So we're going to be talking about the Overwatch Chinese New Year event, and Carl's going to be telling us a little bit about some unpacking that he did and some money he spent on that. We're going to talk about the South Park game, and will that be the first game of 2017 to be delayed? We're going to compare the Games with Gold and PS Plus offerings for February. We'll have a look at the For Honor, which we're looking forward to playing in the open beta later this week, so we're going to discuss that. Square Enix dropped a teaser for Marvel Avengers this week, so we're going to have a little chat around what we think that might be and our hopes and wishes for that game. We've got the Nintendo Switch stock availability, and finally Horizon Zero Dawn, which is coming out in a month's time. I think a month's time, Carl? Have I got that right?
March-ish.
And also Neo, which I'm probably pronouncing awfully, so apologies to anyone offended by that. So,
spot on, I think.
Was it spot on? Oh,
Neo, yeah. It's like Neo from the Matrix.
I thought it was more Neo. No, is it not?
No, because that'd be HO instead of OH.
Okay. I don't speak Japanese, that's fine. Carl, so let's kick it off then. Let's get straight in with one of your topics. Tell us a bit about your Overwatch Chinese New Year unboxings.
Well, I spent it's about £62, I think, in the end, or it might be 64. I think it's £31.99 for 50 loot boxes. You get one each event anyway. So yes, I bought 101. Well, I bought 100, get the one. So I unboxed 101 loot boxes. Wasn't very lucky. Had to buy, I think it was 3 legendary skins in the end, or it was a legendary and a rare or epic, I think they class it as. But yeah, it just means I had to dip into my coins that I get from my duplicates. But yeah, there's a video, or there will be a video coming shortly on YouTube of those being unboxed.
Speaking of YouTube, you've just reminded me of something I completely forgot to mention at the beginning of the episode. So this is a brand new episode for us. We are going to be putting the video for this on YouTube and the audio on all podcasting services, so you can listen to it or watch us, whichever you prefer. So thanks for that memory jogger, Carl.
It was a nice little segue.
Nice segue. With the Overwatch event then, we all probably, you don't know, I'm not an Overwatch player, Carl is an avid Overwatch player. What was the sort of running period then for this Chinese New Year event, and what was the benefit to you? Because it kind of passes me by.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a benefit. It's just a case of it's just a different event. You get a little different brawl on there, which is Capture the Flag, which they've just implemented. Obviously, it doesn't stay around. I think eventually, though, I'd imagine Blizzard will actually add it so it's permanently there, so it's something permanently you can play. Yeah, there's obviously new different skins and stuff for a lot of different people. It follows a Chinese folklore of a monkey who I completely forget the name of now. Going to look for these like scriptures, like kind of like religious scriptures, and he's accompanied by 2 other people, and I can't remember their names either now because I'm not Chinese, and it was going back a while now. But yeah, just different skins, different voice lines, and Capture the Flag mode.
And are you still playing it a lot, or?
I haven't played it as much. I haven't actually played. I've played one game of Capture the Flag. It kind of ended in a stalemate, which I think most of them have ended in from the event. But yeah, I've not played it much. I've been playing a lot of NBA recently.
Okay, fair enough.
Getting back into that.
Okay, cool. So that was just a brief one. If anyone wants to see exactly how fortunate or otherwise you were in your unboxings, they'll be able to look at that on YouTube shortly. That's going to go live hopefully later this week. Okay, so let's move on then. And this is another one of your topics, Carl. You wanted to talk about South Park, the Fractured Butthole, and your thoughts around its release date.
Yeah, well, obviously it was meant to come out in December last year, December 2016. And I think in September, it got announced that it was going to get delayed to, I think the only one that they said was Q1 2017. And as of today, it's still saying early 2017, not even Q1 2017. So at a loss as to when it's going to come out. I mean, we've heard nothing. Nothing else has been said from Ubisoft or even the two guys who created South Park. Nothing's been said by them. We don't know when the game's coming out or what's happening. I'm just wondering if it's going to get another delay, because you'd have thought if it was coming out in Q1, we'd at least have a release date by now, considering we're a third of the way through Q1 already.
And there's a lot of anticipation for that game. I didn't play the original, but I know that there's a lot of people excited about this.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering whether or not they're biding their time, because there's a lot of competition, certainly in the next few weeks. So this month we had Resident Evil, which it probably would have trounced that it come up against that, to be honest. But we've got For Honor, which we'll talk about later on, which is due on Valentine's Day, I think, weirdly enough. We've got Horizon Zero Dawn, beginning of March on the PS4. There's obviously the Nintendo Switch launching at the beginning of March with its games and its library. Zelda, obviously, coming out as well. So there's a few big titles that are going to be looking to take your money. Not too much on the Xbox, really, other than For Honor. In fact, you've got Mass Effect Andromeda as well, which has completely just passed me by.
I think Wildlands is not far off either.
Is it? So there's quite a lot there in the next few months that you've got to think about. So I suppose perhaps they're thinking, well, we'll wait a little bit, push it to sort of late, early 17, if that makes sense, and try and drop it when there's a little less competition. You'd hope it's nothing more than a bit of refinement and polish they're putting on the game.
Well, I mean, if they were planning on it being released in December of 2016, you'd have thought, well, how much more longer do you need? And Wildlands is out on the 7th of March.
Well, we've seen a number of games get pushed from release date to release date to release date.
Especially in 2016.
And a few don't ever make it out. Scalebound being one of the big ones already this year. Casualty of this year, that's gone for good, and that looks set to be a big release. It looked, very far along the development cycle when IGN was showing it off last year, and yet that died a death. So I'm sure that won't happen to South Park. It's too big a franchise.
I wouldn't imagine so.
But okay, interesting. I mean, who knows when it'll be out then, but we'll keep an eye out. Would you like to hazard a guess? Shall we take a guess between us now and see who gets the closest?
I don't think it's going to be Q1. I do think it's going to get delayed. I think April the 1st, April Fool's Day.
It's not a bad shout, That's the kind of thing you can see the South Park guys doing.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to go even further out then. I'm going to say a summer title, because they were up against bugger all in the summer. I'm going to suggest maybe late May, early June, which is probably not officially summer, but getting towards that time of the year. Let's see. Okay. I mean, we could be completely wrong. We could get a release date tomorrow and it could be out in 3 weeks' time or something. You just don't know, do you?
Surprise! It's out in February.
Perfectly feasible. Yeah, exactly. Okay.
I wouldn't imagine so, but yeah.
So let's seamlessly move from South Park to For Honor, as we did touch on it briefly in that conversation there. So For Honor is going into open beta. I think it's the 9th of February, so a couple of days' time. You can pre-install it now, certainly on the Xbox, and I assume that's the same with the PS4. You've done it. I've done it. It's ready to go. I'm really excited for this game to try it out, but I am not necessarily a guaranteed pre-order purchase. In fact, I'm probably not a pre-order purchase is where I'm sitting at the moment. If the beta wows me, then I'm open to be brought in. So for anyone who doesn't know or hasn't particularly read up on For Honor, it's sort of three, how do you class them now? 3 clan types? 3...
Yeah, clans
are good names. So we've got the Vikings, we've got the Knights, and we've got the Samurai. You have the role of the various different heroes you can play from each faction, and you're pitted in battle against the other armies and their minions in various different game modes. Fair summary?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think there's only really like a domination, but I don't think there's any... I think there's game modes. There's like a 2v2 sort of just fight, no minions, and then I think there's a 3v3. I've not seen that one, but there is a 4v4, which is like a big slugfest. But that's like a domination. Yeah, you've got things like parts you've got to capture. Basically.
And there's a single player campaign as well. Although
is there?
Yeah, there's a single player campaign. Although obviously the beta is only going to be testing multiplayer, I assume.
Yeah.
So interesting title, I think. For me, it excites me because it does something different. In many ways, it's similar to other multiplayer genres, but it's in the fact that it's like sort of a hand-to-hand combat style multiplayer. That's pretty unique. I guess my caution over it is that although I like the concept a little bit like Evolve, I worry that the delivery or the implementation won't be necessarily as good and or long lasting. So I'm on the fence about buying it straight away. If the beta wows me, I'm open to have my mind changed. But I still think even if it's got a good beta, it feels like one of those games which will be maybe a post-release, wait for a small price drop somewhere, pick it up for a little less than the £40. I don't feel like I'm going to get the value out of it unless that multiplayer really hooks me and I see myself turning it on night after night to play. So I'm excited.
Well, given how games recently have been cut back price-wise, I don't see the point in pre-ordering it for full price, to be honest.
No, there aren't that many games now
give it a month.
that you would, I'm going to completely contradict that when I talk about Horizon Zero Dawn later on, but I'll come on to that. But I keep telling myself with a lot of games, don't pre-order, just wait. Yeah. It'll come down in price. You know, we got burnt several times at the end of last year. Gears of War, Titanfall 2. I didn't buy Battlefield 1, but that had a sharp reduction in price shortly before Christmas. Call of Duty did the same. A lot of the big releases last year got cut. Last Guardian was cut within a matter of weeks to sort of £25 in some places. So I'm a little bit cautious that this might go the same way, that it comes out at full price. I'm not interested in all the pre-order bollocks that comes with gold editions and whatever.
You don't really get that much with them these days.
Digital skins, isn't it? And you've got this shield with a decal on it that tells other people you pre-ordered the gold edition, which basically just puts a sign on your head, doesn't it? It says I've got too much money, or I'm stupid, or both. Because more often than not now,
I've got the Origins edition for Overwatch, which gives you another skin. Looks like a black skin for Widowmaker. Yeah, never redeemed it.
Have you not?
Barely used Widowmaker, so I've just never redeemed it.
That's pointless, isn't it? So yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about it on the next episode. I think once we've had a chance to play the beta, we'll give our own impressions and we'll try and capture some gameplay footage to share with you at the same time. So if you're interested in our views on For Honor, or you want to play the beta and share your views with us, you can do that. If you want to get in touch with us actually at any time, you can tweet us at BossBattleNet, or you can email us at bossbattlenetwork@gmail.com. So feel free to get your thoughts in on anything we discuss, or if you've got questions for us going forward on future episodes that you'd like us to go through, again, suggest some topics, send those emails through. So For Honor then, I think we'll get the beta underway in the next few days. We'll get a few hours in on that, and then we'll come back together again and record another episode where we'll discuss our views on it, to what we thought. Sound good?
Yep. Sounds good to me.
Excellent. So moving swiftly on, rattling through, games with gold this month. What can we look forward to on Xbox and also the PS Plus?
Right, well, for the PlayStation, there's only really one that stands out for me. That would be Little Big Planet 3.
Okay, that's a good one there.
Yeah.
Although
I've never really played many Little Big Planets.
I don't think it did as well as the first two. I had the first one on the PlayStation 3, and it was good. It was novelty. I probably spent more time with the Metal Gear Solid add-on that you could buy than anything else in the game, just because I'm a Metal Gear Solid fan and I like that. But I don't want to insult anyone who plays it who's not a child. It feels quite childlike and kiddie. I'm sure the world builder's quite good, and there's some interesting stuff being done in that space. I did have a dabble on some of the
you need the time, though, don't you?
Yeah, well, that's it. Oh, yeah, to build them you need hours, I think, to get a good level. But you can play other people, freely move around them. And I did play someone who'd recreated the entire Green Hill Zone on Sonic. That was quite good. But the PS3 one, I seem to remember, and I could be wrong, sorry, Little Big Planet 3, being riddled with a few bugs. I think it came out and had some problems, which they've inevitably patched. But
it got a 6.8 on IGN, and one of the minus points was a game-breaking bugs.
Yeah, so that's not good, is it? And now that might well have been fixed and patched since that review.
Possibly, yeah.
But even so, actually, that's considerably lower than the previous two, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the first one got like a 9.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, well, that would make sense. See, now that was the game before. We've just looked that up. Perhaps we should have done our research before we started recording. But that was the game I thought was probably the better offering on the PS4. And now you said that, it makes me question the value of that.
Well, like I say, if the bugs have been fixed, which I'd imagine they would be, because I mean it's quite I think it's over a year old now.
It's been out for a while, yeah.
You thought fixed, yeah.
Okay.
So it might still be alright, but I mean, I think I said to you before we started recording, the PS Plus have never got to the lofty heights of what the Xbox has to offer. as far as free games go.
There was one point, I think, last couple of years ago when I first got on PS Plus with my PS3, when I was quite impressed, but that was because I was coming to the PS3 quite late on, typically an Xbox boy. So there were a lot of the games coming out were like, oh, that's good, I can't believe that's free. Whereas actually, I think had I had the console for a longer time, I'd have inevitably bought those titles. So
I think the one that shone through on the PlayStation, the PS Plus, was Rocket League, but that was over a year ago now.
Yeah,
I think that's what made Rocket League so popular, was them bringing it out for free.
I think the challenge with the PS Plus stuff as well is, and Xbox to a lesser degree, because they've got a little bit more to choose from. There's not that much on the PS4 that is likely to be given away for free. You're not likely to see Call of Duty, Battlefield, all the like hit that service in the same way you won't see them on Xbox, I don't think. Obviously EA on Xbox have got their own platform for giving you free access to their subscribed game service. With
it still baffles me why that's not available on PlayStation.
PlayStation didn't want it.
Yeah,
that was why back when it was first out, PlayStation didn't want it. They didn't want additional subscription services over and above the PS Plus membership. So it was their decision to push that away. So it's not like EA decided not to support PlayStation back when it happened. PlayStation were adamant they didn't want additional subscription services cluttering up the PlayStation Plus membership and other services. So that's why if you're a PS Plus a PlayStation owner, sorry, you're losing out because of PlayStation, I'm afraid. Obviously with both we have the joys of being able to pick up whatever we want, but I think the other thing with PS Plus is that the games, there are a few which are cross-platform, but generally there's a PS4 game, there's a PS3 game, a PS Vita game, and maybe an extra one or something dabbled in there. But you can't play that PS3 title on the PS4 unless it was some sort of indie game which was created for all of them, because the two aren't compatible. Whereas if you're on the Xbox, you're getting two Xbox One games. One's usually a full retail release, one's usually an indie game, and then you get a 360 game, again a classic and usually some sort of indie. So you're getting more for your money. You're getting 4 playable games for one console, albeit older generation. Whereas PlayStation, you're only getting 1, maybe 2. So I think when you compare the two. So what else is on the PlayStation, Carl, other than Little Big Planet?
There's a game called Not a Hero, a game called Star Wars. Any other games I've got on here I've never heard of. I think Talk L is probably the only one I've seen like a cover for, which I think is like a motorbike racing game. I could even be wrong on that. Let me have a look. I think it's a motorbike racing game though. It sounds like it would be. It doesn't really give me much info. No, it's not. It's a 2D action game where the player must move and manipulate a cube to progress. So, no idea what that is.
Is that a Vita title?
I'd imagine so. It's $10.
Okay.
Doesn't actually tell me.
If I was a PlayStation Plus subscriber, I'm probably not that excited this month.
No. Maybe a Little Big Planet just to see if there's any game breaking bugs still in there because it's free.
Go and experience a possibly broken game. Yay.
Yeah. And the Xbox ones, which obviously there's not as many, but there's less crap. There's Lovers in a Dangerous Space Time, which I'm not too sure. I think you know more about that than I do.
Only based on what I've read. But I am looking to play that one. It's a co-op game, so I think actually it's something we should both play.
Space Time.
And perhaps we should capture some footage and share that on the channel.
But yeah, the other ones are Monkey Island 2.
It's a good one.
Which is an old classic. Very good. Can't not love a bit of a Monkey Island game. Project Cars, Digital Edition. Again, very good racing game. And Star Wars The Force Unleashed, which is the 360 game.
Which is one of my favourite Star Wars games, I think.
Yeah.
The sequel was utter shit, but that one was good.
It's one that I definitely want to play because I never played those, the Force Unleashed.
I mentioned you before, and without spoiling it for anyone who's going to go ahead and play it, it's absolutely worth playing, if nothing else, for the final level / battle. It's not. I'm not spoiling anything. The final confrontation is pretty epic, so it's worth playing, if not just for that. But genuinely, I really enjoyed that game. I don't complete many games. I find the time to complete games difficult to come by, and I did finish that, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't think it's an overly long game. Just check how big it
No,
is.
I don't think so.
I don't think it's massive. It can't be if I finished it, but it's a good one. Brilliant. So I think
they're the Games of Gold and the PS Plus games.
so. If we had to pick one over the other, I think this month Xbox for me is a clear winner.
Yeah, well, I think Xbox is pretty much a clear winner for a lot of them, really.
Yeah.
A lot of the months.
Obviously, in a month or so's time, we'll be able to add in Nintendo Switch's online services.
Yeah.
The free
They
NES
can
or
play
SNES
that
game
much
with increased online functionality. Woohoo! I don't think we'll ever be saying Nintendo's won that one, unless it's Super Mario Land, in which case you maybe have to give it just on nostalgia, but it's highly unlikely.
Yeah.
Which actually segues me neatly into the Nintendo Switch. So if anyone's listened to our podcast on the Switch announcement, which is something we did a few weeks ago now, the day after the actual announcement from Japan, we talked about, give you my brief rundown on the story, I pre-ordered the game 10 minutes into pre-ordered the console on Amazon 10 minutes into the presentation, and then about an hour in, I cancelled it. I pre-ordered it based on how impressed I was with the hardware, which I still stand by. I think the hardware that they've developed is really cool. I think there's some really interesting stuff that they're doing there. I love the different ways you can play. I love the controllers. I love the idea of this HD motion rumble stuff. I was just really impressed with that. And then I cancelled the pre-order when I realised there was literally nothing you could play on it that I couldn't get elsewhere, with the exception of Zelda, which I will probably get on the Wii U because it doesn't cost me £300+ to get the gear needed and the game to play. But yeah, there's just nothing on it. There's no games coming out for it, so I cancelled mine. And I think at the time, Carl, we were having a chat the day after, and you said, "Well, I've done someone a favour there because their Amazon and game ran out of stock fairly quickly."
Yeah.
Since then, and I don't know whether this is because they've been given more stock, which it might be. They might have sold their first allocation. Nintendo said, "Well done, here's some more." Happens, or whether they've had a few people do what I've done and actually cancel their pre-orders because now they've lost the enthusiasm for it, having had a day or two to sleep on it. Both in Amazon and Game are now taking pre-orders again. So they are Game is certainly advertising it as having more stock. We have more stock. Well, I don't know if that's true or not. Amazon, it's just allowing you to pre-order again, whereas they had stopped that. So I'll be interested to see if the Switch has sold as well as they hoped it would. The fact that you can pre-order it suggests to me that it hasn't sold how the NES Classic did. I know they're two completely different things, but I was expected, given that Nintendo usually creates a sort of false economy around these things, that they would be struggling to find a copy. A box if you wanted one.
I'd imagine that it's just a case of they've got more stock because obviously it's coming out very soon. They're going to have created a few more and shipped them out. I think with the NES Classic, they just did their usual thing of they didn't produce enough. Maybe they've learned a lesson and they've produced more stock.
I hope so. And
sent them out.
I think actually, for the benefit of anyone listening, we're based in the Midlands near Birmingham. Birmingham's Custard Factory actually has got a free ticketed event for you to go and get your hands on the Nintendo Switch this weekend, I think.
Okay.
I'm not going to go because I know what will happen. I'll go and I'll handle it and then I'll go and buy one. And I don't need that because there's nothing to play on it. It'll just sit there gathering dust for 12 months. I do want one. I am still excited about it, but I think if I'm going to get one, it's going to be Christmas time. I'm going to wait until... Yeah, I think Mario is the seller for me. That's the system seller for me. The fact that I can buy Zelda on the Wii U, and we talked about in a previous podcast the differences between the two versions. I think it's increased audio or something stupid like that was one of them, wasn't it? It was and a small increase in frame rate and resolution, but very small. And from all the footage I've seen, there's not a huge amount in it. In some instances, I actually prefer the way the Wii U version looks, and then other examples I prefer the Switch version. Depends on which scenes you're looking at, but yeah, I just think if you're going to play it, just unless you desperately need to have it on the move, just buy it on the Wii U if you've got one already, which a lot of hardcore Nintendo fans will have, because there's little else to play on that console, and everything else coming out until Mario.
Switch.
Well, that one I did like the look of. I watched a video this morning of Brian Altano from IGN running through how much his Nintendo Switch investment's going to cost him. And I think it's going to run in best part of $700 because he's pre-ordered the Switch console. He's pre-ordered 250 odd gig memory card. He's pre-ordered the biggest edition of Zelda with the statues and all that sort of stuff. He's pre-ordered 1-2 Switch, Bomberman. There's something else that he pre-ordered, but basically it was all going to run him about $700. And I thought, actually, what are you getting for that when you sit back and look at it? You're going to get a console, the Zelda game, and a few bits. Okay, there's the fun stuff in the collector's edition. I get that. But then 1-2 Switch for me is a party game. They've said it as much. So it's $50 for a party game. And then Bomberman.
Well, I said that to you after the announcement, didn't I? I thought, really?
Well, everyone said it should have been packed in. Everyone said it should be in the package. And then Bomberman, I mean, bloody hell, Bomberman on... how far back do you go now? When were we playing Bomberman last? I'm pretty sure I had that on the 360.
Probably the Super Nintendo.
I think there was a 360 version which will be played online. I'm sure there was a 360 version of Bomberman as an arcade download.
I've never played it.
Yeah, I'm sure I've got it on my Xbox. And it was like, $5 or £10 or something. And I don't know why would... Bomberman with fancy graphics is still Bomberman. It's not a AAA game.
No.
I don't get it. So, yeah, so I just wanted to mention the fact that obviously Game and Amazon, if you're in the UK, as of now, have got stock if you want to pre-order one. What does that mean? I don't know. We won't know. But it'll be interesting to see how it does.
I think it's just more stock.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, I hope that's the case, because I do want it to be a success. I did see today, actually, an article that says EA are saying that FIFA 18 will be on the Switch. So for some reason you are only going to own the Switch, you can have FIFA. But I'm sure if you're buying a Nintendo Switch, you're probably not that bothered about FIFA, because you'll be buying a PlayStation or an Xbox, but whatever.
Yeah.
So seamlessly from one pre-order story to another. I don't think we've talked about this, Carl, so this may come as a surprise to you. I've done a stupid pre-order again. So having said I wasn't going to pre-order Horizon Zero Dawn, someone at work mentioned the fact that there is a collector's edition which had escaped me.
Oh no.
So I've pre-ordered the Horizon Zero Dawn collector's edition, which I'll be unboxing on our YouTube channel if anyone wants to see it. So let me tell you first how much it cost, and then I'll run you through what's in it. So it's not as bad as some other collector's editions, but it's £105. And it comes with a 9-inch statue of the main character.
Right.
A steelbook case for the game, which I fussed about. The game, an art book, an exclusive PS4 theme. Oh yeah. And some in-game DLC. So fundamentally, I bought the statue. That's basically what I've paid all the extra money for. But I want it for my shelves in the background, whichever hand I should be gesturing with. That one over there somewhere. Not sure where. But yeah, that's basically why I bought it. I am aware that the game may well not review well, and if reviews come out before I end up paying for this thing, I may well cancel that game order if the game does tank, because as much as I like the look of it and love what it's trying to do, if the gameplay isn't very engaging, then I'll struggle to play it. So it'll just be sat there and it'll be pointless, and it'll be £100 reminder of a stupid purchase. But if the game does do well, or even it's good reviews, then I'm looking to buy it, and I'm excited for it. I love the idea of robot dinosaurs and vast open plains and beautiful scenery. I've tried to avoid watching too much content on it. I know you've said before you've watched some stuff online. I almost don't want to see anything more than short clips of gameplay, because I don't want to know how it all sort of hangs together. I want that to be a surprise.
Well, these,
so as long as someone says the game's good.
The ones that I watched were short clips of gameplay. It was about 20 minutes, a little bit taken throughout it, so it wasn't really giving much away. But yeah, it showed bits where you could take over like a hostile one, so you could ride it. It's like a little horsey type thing, and a bit of
it's like hacking, isn't it? Or something. You can hack them
and just a little bit of combat with the bow. The gameplay looks really good, and I think I mentioned it to you before. It kind of had like the bit of a Mass Effect feel, where the conversations were happening, they kind of look a bit dead behind the eyes. And I don't know if that's obviously going to come through at the end of the game, or if they're going to add some bits and pieces in there. But they were being quite fancy with it, because they were giving some dialogue, and they were just cutting the video to the people actually playing the game, so we were just watching them literally just stare at the screen. I thought, this is a bit of a weird video, to be honest.
Do you know who makes it, or what the people who make it are famous for?
No, I don't know what they're famous for. I can't remember what they were called either, but they did.
So Killzone.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you say that, and that was my first reaction. But then I reminded myself that I loved Killzone 1.
Killzone 1 was amazing, but the other
Killzone 2 was pretty good.
Yeah.
Killzone 3 wasn't that good, and the last one on the PS4 was pretty poor. It's a strange move though. Killzone was such a dark, glum, muddy,
it's definitely different. It's
war
first
game.
person to third person, isn't it?
To swing, well, I say it's a first-person, dark, gloomy, grungy kind of game, explosives, violence, guns.
War.
To then jump, apart from the most recent one, which was all sort of future tech stuff, but then to jump from that to sort of like open vistas, mountains, jungles, snow, robot dinosaurs, and archery. I was like, what the third person as well. It's a big shift. It's a strange one.
I mean, the gameplay looks really good. It does look really clever, and I mean, it's doing something a little bit different, but at the same time, it kind of looks like you've seen it before. It looks very, very similar to Shadow of Mordor in a way, even though I've never really played that game either.
I played Shadow of Mordor. It was good. I actually quite liked that. I put quite a few hours into that, and then to be honest, what lost me with Shadow of Mordor was the story. I didn't really need to know what the guy's result was, because I kind of know all the big Lord of the Rings stories and the story arcs I'm aware of, so I wasn't really interested in his sort of smaller story. But everyone talks about how great that game is, and it must have been popular because it's one of the ones that they re-rendered for 4K on the PS4 Pro, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah, so it was a big system seller for that, so it's an interesting one.
Yeah, hopefully the story will be as captivating in this.
I hope so. I really hope so. It needs to be for me to play it a lot.
Yeah.
But I just really I like the idea of taking on a robot T-Rex.
Yeah.
I'm down with that. Very much down with that. Okay, so we'll wait to see then how that reviews, and if, as I said, if the reviews are favourable or even decent, it doesn't have to be amazing, but if they're good, as long as it isn't considered a bad game, then I will continue to let that purchase go through, and if and when I receive it, I'll do an unboxing and show everyone the figure in a bit more detail, and I'll stick a YouTube video up for that for anyone who wants to see it. I'm also probably going to Twitch stream some of the game itself when it comes out, so if anyone wants to watch me do that, you're more than welcome. Come along, interact, say hello. So over to you then, Carl, about a game that we might see you playing on Twitch. Look at that seamless link again, like a pro. And Neo, or Neo, or however we decided we pronounced it.
Probably see me rage a lot. Which is always fun. I know James likes seeing
why I want you to stream it.
Yeah, although I think I haven't read the review completely. I've read bits of it, and I've also read a little bit about it on Kotaku as well. It seems really good. I mean, it's been very well received. It's kind of like Dark Souls, but it's not as much like Dark Souls that it needs to be just another clone of Dark Souls. So yeah, I'm definitely interested about picking it up.
IGN gave it a 9.6, I think, which was really impressive.
Considering IGN have been quite stingy with their 9s, especially recently, it was a good review.
It's a game that is definitely not designed for me.
I think once
anger.
I think once you get to a point that from what I was reading, I think once you get to a point where you kind of grasp the mechanics. And obviously, it's going to be a slow game. You kind of got to run in, take a few pot shots, and then run out, kind of thing. From what I can gather, and I'm pretty sure that's what some of the Dark Souls was really. It will all tend to click, and you'll breeze through it a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it. I think it looks interesting. I'd like to watch you play it, one, because I really think you'll smash your controller. So for the humour value, I'd like to watch that and to see you swear a lot on Twitch. But I also think I'd probably appreciate the big boss battles quite a lot. I could play on the name. I think I'd appreciate that, just because I think those kind of epic battles can be what makes some of these games. It's nostalgic for me to have a big boss that you have to properly sink some time into taking down. But, I think that was quite a few games recently that I've really enjoyed have fell flat when it came to boss fights. And the first game that jumps into my head is The Division, because I loved a lot about that game. The sort of campaign levels that you did, you just ended up fighting as a dude who looked like everybody else but had a double energy bar, and you're like, oh, I really wanted a proper boss, something that felt worthy of an end of level thing that tells me I've completed something, So I think that was good.
There was one level with a helicopter.
The last level,
where you had to take
the last
helicopter.
one.
It was
the last campaign mission. That was the helicopter.
Was it?
Because I said to you, I think when we completed it, why was that the first time I've had to take on what felt like a proper boss at the very end of the game? Which is a shame, but I think that's something I do like the idea of. Watching some of the little clips that I've seen of it made me think a bit about the original Devil May Cry and the sort of dark gothic tone that had, because I loved that game. Loved that game. I still have fond memories of the fight when you fight against that sort of shadow form of your brother stepping through that mirror. That was just like, yes, let's have it.
And that big spider thing as well.
Yeah. That's why I spent hours trying to take that bugger down with the guns, trying to whittle its energy down until I realised that you had to get on its back and hit it with a sword. So fucking annoying that was. The number of hours I wasted doing that. Yeah, definitely. So something we can perhaps look forward to seeing you do on stream, and maybe a bit of YouTube footage of as well at some point. Maybe we'll just save the controller smashing moments and we'll put them into a YouTube compilation as you bounce your controller and swear and stuff.
There were no controller smashing moments because that was an expensive controller. So
you're going to buy like one of them little wrist straps like the Wii U controller had, so you can just like not let it go.
No, I have noticed that I have put it down vigorously in anger sometimes, and obviously the magnetic little things, those do pop out, which is quite fun because they sort of fly off everywhere, and you're like, oh, where the hell's that gone?
I suppose if you bounce it off a wall and they all fall out and you lose one, you can always replace it with a longer stick or whatever else.
Not that if I did bounce it off a wall, it would work.
For anyone who's not sure what controller Carl's referring to, it's the Xbox One Elite, isn't it? Which we both have. Hey,
fella.
Excellent. So last but not least then, for our first episode of Button Mashing Carl, we had a Square Enix trailer for, I think it was less than a minute long, for Marvel Avengers Reassemble. Is it called Reassemble? Got that right, haven't I?
Yes.
Showed us no gameplay, gave us no idea what it was, but it did show us some glimpses of, or things that we would recognise and associate with the key Avengers. So we had the Hulk, we had Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, and what sounded like, and I'm assuming was Black Widow doing a voiceover, not Scarlett Johansson, but I assumed it was Black Widow as a character. Could be completely wrong.
I don't think they'll have the actual voice characters.
No, I don't think they will. I don't think it's meant to be linked in any way to the cinematic universe. This is a standalone game, I think. So, Square Enix are going to be the ones publishing it, but specifically it's Crystal Dynamics and Eidos who are going to be putting the game together. Their last outing was Deus Ex Mankind Divided, which has now gone on an indefinite hiatus, but they also did the Tomb Raider series, the recent two, which have been brilliant games. So I guess I want to know from you, Carl, what is your dream game? What is the Marvel Avengers game you want to see Square Enix produce, or what do you think they're going to produce?
I'd like to see something similar to Marvel Ultimate Alliance, but maybe instead of making the characters so small, maybe have them in a less cartoony, more grander scale type of game. Something along those sort of lines, battling things.
Okay. I've genuinely got no idea what I want this to be.
No, I'm quite stuck just to give anything, really.
There's so many characters that could do and support such different types of games, but I can't see them doing multiple game types in one overall package.
Yeah.
So I feel like you're probably right. They're going to end up taking a route where everyone's going to do something similar but with a specific skill set, which I don't mind. I'm excited to see a good studio behind it, and hopefully, as it doesn't sound like it's a movie tie-in, we're going to get something decent. I would not be surprised though if they're trying to get this out in time for in and around the Infinity Wars, because you would think they'll tie this in with a movie. That would seem to make sense. I know you mentioned before that there's a Guardians of the Galaxy game production as well, which is the second Guardians of the Galaxy game, if that's true then, because
there's a Telltale
we've got
one.
Telltale's doing theirs, and also now you say Eidos were doing the Guardians game as part of that deal, so that's interesting. So we don't know anything about that either.
No.
I'm really excited to see more from this. I'm intrigued as to where they're going to go with it. I have high hopes. I love my Avengers and my Marvel stuff, so I want them to do it well.
They don't necessarily have to tie it in with the movies. I mean, when the Batman games came out, the Rocksteady ones, they weren't necessarily tied into any movies, and they did obviously really well. So, true. I mean, I'll be happy either way if they don't.
I don't think they'll tie into the movies in terms of story, but I think they'll tie in the release just to sort of cash in on Avengers hype.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm really excited for that one. I think the trailer looks, well, it doesn't show us anything, but it's exciting enough to get me interested. But I don't think we'll see it for a year or two anyway.
No, it's going to be for a while.
In terms of release, hopefully we'll just get little bits and pieces here and there between now and then. And that was our last talking point. So I think probably best if we draw this first episode to a close. Thanks for your time, Carl. And what I think we'll do is ahead of our next episode, we can look forward to For Honor and our beta impressions. And we'll also pick up on any of the news articles that come in that period of time. We'll discuss anything else that's going on in the world of gaming. In the meantime, if you want to get in touch with us, you can tweet us at BossBattleNet, or you can email us at bossbattlenetwork@gmail.com. But for now, that's this episode drawn to a close. Thank you very much for watching or listening, depending on where you did that. And we hope to see you for episode 2. Thanks very much. Goodbye.
Bye.